We are online, just checking whether I'm audible, visible. We are online, okay, just
cool.
checking whether
Cool.
visible.
Very nice. Okay. Welcome. Welcome to Unlocking Emotional Mastery Using Brain Power. And we are on episode number 41. And today we're going to be looking at how to use emotional insight as a super skill to be able to build deeper connections and also manage your stress and conflict like a pro. Okay. It is important to stay balanced and, stay calm under pressure. At the same time, how to effectively respond, not react impulsively, and build resilience to bounce back, even if there is a flaw in us. It is important to also bounce back um, in a way to handle those flaws more effectively, especially during the heated moments, charged up moments. It is important to not to leave the residue physically, mentally, emotionally, and be able to start fresh with a different perspective, with hope and faith. It is very important, especially at this point of time where the entire world is turning towards many pandemic, looming in the corner. And currently we are in mental health pandemic. So in order to combat mental health, emotional intelligence comes as a rescue, and it is considered as 21st century most demanding, highly demanding skill set for starting from a student, a young adult, looking for career shift or career advancement, and also leadership roles, people who are in managerial and administrative roles, and uh, you know, people who are leading a community or an organization or a business setup, and also people who are leading family, responsible parents. Okay, highly important that irrespective of any age, any gender, it is important to see this emotional intelligence as a super skill. It's not super, what do you call? It's not a superhero skill, but it is superhuman skill. Okay, it is important and it is already within us. In this series, we will be covering 100 episodes on how to look at to activate any skill using your own left brain, right brain, and midbrain power. Because as a human being, we are gifted with the brain power, which enables us to activate the logical reasoning as well as the creativity simultaneously. It is just up to us as to how much are we activating any of these sides of the brain. Okay. And emotional intelligence is supposed to be the midbrain activity where we are taking the blend of both logic and emotional data. That being said, in this series, we will look at 6 steps approach to any particular skill because we are this is more of a crash course of visually presented insights in order to activate your left brain, right brain, and midbrain. It is more to deal with certain strategical approach, because by the time you want to rewire something and work on something, it's going to take time. But if you can give that necessary information what is needed for your logical brain to convince yourself that it is needed, the more you try to understand the importance of it, you will be ready to apply it. And what if I give you the application also ready made to you on a platter, so that you will be able to apply it today in next 24 hours to see whether it's working for you or not. Today we will be talking about emotional insight. We have already discussed in this previous episodes and also in the beginning. Okay, so in case you've been listening to me, you're a regular listener for the series. You by now have a cue of how we approach in this entire 100 episodes. So we will define a particular skill using EQ definition in order to understand how your left brain approaches a particular skill and your right brain approaches, and also what is the midbrain approaches in everything, every skill that we want to enhance. And then we will also talk about pros and cons. Why are we talking about a disadvantage of a particular skill? Because it is highly important that we are working on rewiring your brain. So brain is very tricky, that the more you dwell on anything, okay, that is why I constantly tell you, this is my left side and this is my right side. The more you dwell on left brain, it'll be difficult for you to take the data from the right brain. The more you dwell on right brain, imagine the bubble is moving towards this side, extreme. The more it is difficult for you to pick up the logical data. So it is ideal to maintain in the midbrain so that you can have an access of both the data whenever is needed and according to the situations and people. Okay. So because of which you need to know that if you are dwelling on too much of any of these extreme sides, it is important for you to get back to the mid portion. Because of that, it is also highly important to know what could be the consequences if you dwell on any particular skill. Okay. So that being said, emotional intelligence is not to get any mastery. There is no need to go on extremely on any skill. You just have to make sure that, in colloquial language, they say jack of all trade. Okay. It is not just a jack of all trade. We are going to specialize in certain skills, but we are going to make sure that we are spreading our energy, effort, and focus in developing all the skills in balance, keeping in balance. The moment you are able to get awareness on all these skills and be able to apply one or two strategies of each and every talent that we are talking about here, then you will be able to, keep up practices of applying all the strategies needed for any skill that you want. So it is very important to know what are the advantages and disadvantages if you overdo on any particular skill. Then we will talk about 5 actionable strategies directly, talking about which strategies to activate the left brain and right brain pertaining to the episode talent that we will be discussing. Today, we are talking about emotional insight. So I will be telling you, if you activate this particular strategy, you are actively activating the left brain skills to enhance your emotional insight. And then the other way, right brain also. Similarly, midbrain also. And then we will also see a case study, uh, a famous personality whom you and me know, the entire world knows, who has actually used, I like eating brain patterns of successful people. I would like to know how their left brain, right brain, and midbrain has been activated in order to achieve certain things in their own industry. Okay, like I said, emotional intelligence is needed for any roles, any profile, any age, any gender, any location, any race, any industry. So it is important as long as there is a human being involved in it, there's a brain activity involved. And as long as the brain activity is involved in it, there is always a logic and there's always an emotion playing around. So it is nice to see a famous personality activated, highly activated in both these brain skills. In fact, midbrain is what we are expecting to see how they are able to take the blend of both. And we will see how they have used it. Okay. And finally, I'll also give you some reward where you can use those tools to assess your own skill set. With that being said, today we'll see 3 angles: how to use emotional insight to stay balanced, to respond and not react, and build resilience. And in fact, we have done deeper, insightful episodes on resilience itself. In the beginning of this series, we spoke about logical resilience, emotional resilience, and how to build, resilience for a parent, for a leader, for a business entrepreneur. We went deeper into it. Okay. So after that, we also saw critical thinking, problem solving, proactivity in wider and deeper angles. So in case you've missed it, I would highly recommend you to watch it so that you can connect the dots. And every episode, you will find something insightful and different because every skill is needed to be managed differently, approached differently also. Okay. Now, when we speak about emotional insight, we'll see how left brain and right brain approaches takes this particular skill. Your left brain actually lets you analyze those emotional triggers logically to understand the root cause of it. So when we are dealing with stress and conflict, today is the episode where we will see how emotional insight is actually helping us in during stressful moments. Okay. During that moment, your brain is actually looking for emotional triggers to logically see what is the root cause of it. It is looking for patterns. Okay, have you realized it? Just close your eyes and see whenever there was a stressful moment. Okay, if you are looking for patterns, trying to understand the root cause of it, that means your left brain is activated. And if you are emotionally attuned, right? Maybe you're getting some cues. Emotional intuition is nothing but using all your 5 senses. Somebody could be very, very sensitive towards sound, towards smell, or towards sight. They can even sense the touch, or even when they get into some room, right? So they can feel the vibe. Those are some people who are emotionally intuitive. Okay, they can actually assess the outcome even before they could occur using their five senses. If highly sensitive people are emotionally attuned, okay, and they are empathetic to find compassionate ways to resolve conflicts. They don't bother about the logical reason behind it. Just merely dealing with energy, okay, dealing with the five senses, they're good enough to handle, resolve conflicts. How beautiful it'll be, right? We all are capable of doing it if only you're able to activate that brain, okay, which gives you that ability. And today is what we will see how to enable that emotional intuition using certain left brain, right brain, and midbrain strategies. Okay. If you're watching me online and if you are pumped up to know that what is, do you think it's useful for your life? Maybe you're a working mother, or you may be a full-time parent, or you could be a business person who's leading a team of people and successfully leading the industry. So whatever it could be, whatever profile are you in, do you think it will be helpful for you? Give me um, one-liner comments saying emotional insight will be very useful for me. So when you do this, when you can engage with me, I will know what amount of understanding you need. And in case you need any other topic in emotional intelligence, apart from what we have been discussing, if there's anything, any topic which stands as a challenge for you, you can let me know in the comments. I'll pick that topic in the near closer episodes. And I'll also give you a shout out that you wanted it. And so we are rendering this entire episode for you. Okay, I'll give you a shout out. By that means, I'm also going to give you, let's see, about benefits of having this emotional insight. Now, what will happen? I'm going to share my screen. Just a second. Just let me know if the screen is visible. All right. I think the screen is visible now. Cool. So the benefits of having emotional insight is, one is it will reduce your stress, because the more you're able to identify and address emotional triggers, it'll be able to reduce your overall stress. Because as I told you, what if you're sensitive towards, even if you don't have a data about what is happening, in the room, maybe you're supposed to be giving a presentation, and what if you don't have a particular data? What if you have this capacity to handle people in your, intuitive way? What if you're able to convince? You may be a charming person, you may be very good with communication. Just by using your talents, you're able to convince the client. May not be actually the presentation there. What if you have this capacity to resolve conflicts there? That is a beautiful, powerful skill, right? Similarly, if you can, I mean, it'll also give you an improved conflict resolution by able to recognize emotion during those conflicts. So in order to give you the most constructive and empathetic problem solving approach, it is good if you can have these insights. If you can read emotions, if you can pick up the cues in dealing with people, then it will help you, resolve the conflicts very, very effectively, irrespective of any role that you are in. What if you are a parent, you are able to get these emotional insights from your child? Do you think you can resolve the conflicts even before they could occur? Do you think you will be 10 steps ahead to understand the emotions of your children and your family really well? Of course, we have our own people in our family, elders who have been classic example of emotional intelligence, right? That is why in my, in this episode, I always give an example of how people are, how we had wonderful um, examples of people who are highly, emotionally intelligent across us all the time. Even in your own mastery experiences, successful moments, right? Think about situations where you have dealt with people and it was really very successful. Maybe you solved a problem dealing with people related, your team related, or your family related, or maybe you resolve some misunderstandings. Okay, that is bound to happen, and then the intensity could have been bigger if you had not solved it. Those were successful moments, whether it is big or small. You must have used both these logic and emotional data in it, right? Sometimes it is important that when you're dealing with financial budgets, for example, okay, you need to be very evaluative and talking in numbers and trends and, reviews, right? Not necessarily taking the emotional aspects over there. But when you're dealing with family people, suppose you're planning for a vacation, okay, more than the financial aspect, of course, it is needed, but it is more towards likes and dislikes and what gives everybody happiness and their choices, right? That's what you will take into consideration. So, according to the situation, you're going to blend and take the data. And thereby, you're going to better your relationship. Because if you can foster empathy to build that trust and understanding during stressful situations, that is the best gift that you can give for yourself and for your people. Suppose you're able to empathetically understand. Yesterday, we saw how to use empathy um, to create deeper and meaningful connections, right? So, what if you're able to use that empathy skill to understand their angle? What is the reason behind their disagreement? And then be able to constructively approach during your conversations. At least the intensity of, um, you know, conflicts or stress not being created there. That itself is the first win. And what if you are able to get them into a consensus? If not full agreement, but at least consensus, right? Where there is a partial agreement for both the parties, and thereby they're able to move forward. That is the greatest win. So that is a superpower. Okay. Behind that, empathy would have worked, emotional insights would have worked. So that is why emotional intelligence, you're using the intelligence of emotions and arriving at a solution. And what could be the disadvantages of you having this overdone? So for every skill, we need to make sure that we are not overdoing it. Suppose you're over killing this emotional insight. Suppose you're like, you have a great strength in emotional insight. What will happen? If it's your superpower, it is going to let you overanalysis. Focusing too much on emotions might lead you to overthink and increase stress. That is exactly why I said, this is my right side, so my creativity and emotional processing happen in this side. The moment I go too farther, then it is very difficult for me to take this logic data. So, it takes time for me to bounce and then come back and take this logical data. So that is why it is best to be in the middle, somewhere closer to the middle, so that anytime you can take the, flip the switch. Then it is also going to be emotionally draining because constant emotional awareness during conflict can be mentally exhausting. During the conflict where you're also involved, first of all, your own emotional insight. Reading what's happening within you is the first skill. Only then you can read the others. You may still be able to read the others, not be able to read yours because it could be a blind spot for your own self. That is for another day. So when I talk about recognizing patterns, we will speak about why we're not very good with our emotional insight. But you may be really very, very good in reading other people's emotional insight. That could really be possible, but there is a missing element. Now, if you do so, when there is a missing element, it'll be draining for you. Suppose you're feeling very tired. Okay, you actually don't want to be in that place, but you're just pulled in and you're not able to take the cues what's happening within you, and you keep on helping the other people in order to resolve conflicts or to streamline process something. Your presence is there, but you're not able to step out of it. It gets too much drained. Okay, by not able to clearly think through what you're feeling, that could also be draining. At the same time, if you're not able to think through what other people are processing, that insight is not in you, then you may be dragging the entire arguments could be dragging. Maybe just a matter of understanding the tone, understanding the frustration or irritation or tiredness in the opposite person. It could be even your own child. What if you're able to understand the frustration behind the child or anxiety behind the child, and if you can able to address that first instead of the consequences or disciplinary action, that can still be taken across. But then if you can handle that fear or that irritation or that kind of emotion first, then it is emotionally insightful. Okay, then there will not be any energy draining. Otherwise it will be too consuming for you and for the other person. And then difficulty in detaching also. If you're getting swayed by other people's emotion or your own emotion, then it is very difficult for you to take the blend of logical emotion. So that is why you need to be in awareness all the time. When you trying to manage emotions within you or outside you, you need to be also having the awareness not to overdo on any side. You need to be able to navigate quickly. Okay. All right. So the next one is importance of emotional insight. Now, why do you think it's needed? Let's talk about something which, when you don't have this emotional insight, what will happen is stress and conflict can escalate, leading to poor decisions and strained relationship. With emotional insight, managing stress proactively can happen. You're going to resolve conflicts constructively and maintain emotional balance. Now, there's a huge difference between these two worlds. Okay. People with emotional insight can act proactively, whether it is heated situations or it is a normal situation, they don't get swayed. Okay. They're able to resolve conflicts constructively for a win-win solutions, not problem focused only, but solution focused for all people around them. That is way different from people who do not have this insightful. They are one-sided driven. Maybe they are too emotionally driven, only they fail to see the logic, or they are logically driven, they fail to, see the emotion part of it. Neither of it is dangerous. Statistically, we came to know that according to American Psychological Association says that showing high emotional insights leads to success. Okay. And the success rate is individuals with high emotional insight are 40% more successful at managing stress. With this one powerful skill, if you can practice this regularly, it's just a few minutes of practice in a day. If you can bring that awareness, that emotional insight is something, it is a skill, it is a talent that you can develop. And then 1 or 2 places in a day, if you can allow it to, be applied, then you will see the result. There could be some transformation, some shift on a daily basis that could lead to a transformation if eventually followed. That will also come to your rescue whenever there is a stressful situations. Okay, I'll give you cues and examples as to how it will be applied and how it will be helpful. Okay, but the impact is emotional insight significantly improves conflict resolution and stress management abilities. Okay, now who's going to be benefited? Ideally, the leaders who are managing the high stress teams and workplace conflicts effectively, parents who are dealing with emotional ups and downs of parenting, professionals who have to navigate stressful work environment and resolve conflicts. But are they enough? I would highly, I would always say, insist that whether this particular episode or any other skill talent that we are discussing, it is applicable for anybody, irrespective of age, gender, or race, or any profiles. Okay, it is needed for even a student because they also go through anxiety and stress. In order to, perform excellent in their academics or in their career, they also conflict, within themselves and with others in a high fast-paced environment like this. And also the education system is quite not equipped with emotional vocabulary. It is difficult for even the child to express. Okay, even a teenager or a young adult, they already go through a transition in them. Every stage of life is new for them, and everything around them is also new. By the time they want to process something and then be able to deliver it would have been high time. So it is important for them to be proactive. They have to start using these emotional intelligence skills. Okay, then comes emotional insight in the workplace. Now, how do you apply emotional insight during stress management? Okay, if suppose you are in workplace, whenever you are stressed out, it is important to recognize early signs of burnout and implement healthy coping strategies. Okay, now burnout is one of the upcoming enemy, especially for working people, whether you are an organization or a business person, leader in community, or even in family people. Okay, full-time family, parents, whether it's mom or dad, it is very important to look for the sign out of burnout. Okay, so in that sense, taking mindful breaks during high pressure deadlines, it is important to maintain that kind of stressful coping mechanisms. That way, you can apply your emotional insight within yourself, trying to understand what is the signs of burnout. Are you getting drained? Is there an energy drain? Is there a frustration and irritation? Oftentimes, do you, do you all the time want to take a break and just be off from the chaos? These could be all the early signs. Okay. There'll be a quiz bundles that I will be offering at the end of this episode. If you can take those quizzes, you will understand what is the early signs of burnout and how do you manage with emotional insight. Okay. Conflict resolution. Managers leverage emotional awareness to identify them, tensions before they escalate. For example, scheduling one-on-ones. During one-on-ones, you will get a lot of data points. It's a clear-cut feedback. So that can help you notice changes in team dynamics whenever you're approaching the challenging projects, especially before the, challenges and during the challenges, and also taking the post review of those challenges will definitely help you fix the flaws. And when you have one-on-one, proactive one-on-one, before even the challenges occurs, that is the proactive measure. So there are two ways it is going to help you. One, you having an insight about your own early signs, and also you checking in on your team members will definitely help you get the conflicts resolved. It could be a challenge, not necessarily conflicts between personalities or two people, but it could be really a challenge or a roadblock for an individual in your team. Okay. It is the same with family also. Okay. Now let's talk about parenting. Understanding the root cause is also important. Okay. Identifying the emotion behind those behaviors is very, very important. So recognizing a child tantrums may stem from feeling overwhelmed, but seeking, or maybe, you may think that they're seeking attention. What if you could listen to them actively to understand where are they coming from? What is the reason behind their tone or the tantrum? If you just spend a little more time asking them or talking to them or just listening to them, you will definitely find these cues. Then offer support. Suppose you do find some trigger, you do find some patterns, you're going to offer them assurance. Okay. You're going to respond them with empathy during those difficult moments. Maybe some calming, words, soothing words for them, reassuring that you are there for them. And then maybe, after they come out of that frustration, maybe you can talk about those consequences or give them some wisdom to understand how they have to approach themselves in the future and situations. So, or even some disciplinary consequences can always be talked after you could address those emotions, not directly attacking with your logical. I mean, disciplinary actions is nothing but putting the logic behind it, right? So instead of putting the logic front, if you could understand the emotional data, then it will definitely be effective in order to better your relationship. Okay, if you are an autocratic person and you don't bother about people, then it's only process related, then you may want to look for the logical reason behind that. But when we are dealing with people, when the aim is to improve your communication, improve your relationship, emotional insight, and considering the emotions behind it is going to drive your performance, both yours and the other person. Okay. Then building stronger relationships. If you can create a daily opportunity, okay, for emotional connection through some activities like bedtime talks or shared hobbies and regular special time. So that's where the child is leading the activity and feeling truly heard. You see, we are using some logic here in order to understand what is the likes and dislike of that person, of the person whom you're dealing with. And we are picking the emotions in the front line and putting the logic behind it. We are giving the structure, okay? We are giving the shape to it. That is thinking about an activity, scheduling the activity, and also conducting the activity. Those are all left brain activity. But why are we doing it? To address the emotions, in the front line. So that is why you got to be driving emotionally intelligent, using your intelligence on your emotions. Of course, backed up by logic. All right. So emotional insights in your personal relationship also. How do we do this? Very, very critical to know that, because this is where all the charged, heated up emotions erupt, and this is where people lose control, right? And it is exactly why it is even more important to be, in order to make sure that you are enhancing your relationship using the brain power. You don't get swayed with only maybe you're left brain driven. But if you can pick up these strategies and start working on it, then it is important to also start understanding the elements one by one, step by step. Okay. So the first step is, in order to have the skill exercised in your personal relationship, because that's where it gets tricky. In an official setup, workplace setup, or a business setup, things are a little bit structured. Okay. It is already logically set up for you. But if it is a personal setup, like a family or between spouse, things can go any way. All right. So it is important to, first of all, go step by step to identify that emotions. Look beyond surface reactions to understand, root feelings of it, whether it is a parent child or a between spouse or between anybody, any relationship within the family. Okay. Even between friends, it is important when you can, address that emotion root cause first. So suppose when your partner seems to be very angry, right? Um, for having a missed dinner or something, okay? You're actually going to be addressing the reason behind it, or, trying to understand where the anger is coming from, which angle is the anger. I told you in the previous episode, there's also a lot of emotional vocabulary is needed. It is just not angry yet, because for you to reach anger, there are other levels. It starts with low intensity, like irritation, just irritation. It could be annoying. Next one, it could be frustrating. Next one, it could be maybe touching the anger that time. So there are few levels even before somebody says anger, right? That is why it is important to know the feeling words correctly. Emotional vocabulary is very, very important. When you can clearly express at what level of anger you are, that itself is solving half of the problem. Because the other person know, okay, it's not yet angry, maybe irritation, it's still allowable, right? Permissible, and it is solvable. So it is a clear-cut communication there itself. So it is important to identify emotions there, and then you're going to communicate that effectively. That's exactly what I said. If you can practice active listening, okay, while you're able to label those emotions, it is also important to listen to them carefully. If you can listen to them, again, half of the problem is solved there. Even if you do not know what feelings they are, going through, but at least by listening, you will get cues. And also communication, words, choice of words. Instead of saying, even if you're, really frustrated with that person, before attacking them, saying that you are responsible for this, before using the you words, start using the I words. I feel irritated because it has been missed. A dinner, is not planned properly. I feel irritated, or I feel upset. Okay. So understand the words is also important. I feel overwhelmed, and that would appreciate your support. Maybe, a wife, after, having a long day, she could not plan it really well. So what if the wife says that, instead of saying, blaming the husband, what if she asks, I feel overwhelmed, and why don't you give me support? So that is clearly communicating what they are going through. Plus, it is a resolution. It is not a conflict. It is not towards problem. So, that is a mechanism that you can use for conflict resolution, addressing disagreements with curiosity rather than judgment. So now I spoke to you about the first person who is having a problem and able to communicate. Now, what about the other person who's receiving it? Because equally, the other person is also angry about the missed out dinner plan, right? But their intensity could not be the same with the first person. Okay. Maybe the first person is even more frustrated because there is an addition of guilt. If I was there in that situation, I would be not just frustrated. In fact, the frustration comes along with the guilt of, not being able to plan properly. Okay. There could be mixed emotions also. What if the partner who's receiving this was able to, there could be chances that conflict can still be, hanging on. It is still not resolved because it didn't end with the person who's receiving it. It all depends on the person also who's receiving it, right? Sometimes even the person who's a victim, or who's been, you know going through those emotions, even despite of communicating effectively, suppose the person who's receiving it is not able to handle it, then again the conflict will bounce back. Okay. So in this case, let's say the wife has communicated clearly that, her frustration and mixed emotions. The husband is listening. How about addressing disagreements with curiosity rather than judgment? Right? It is highly important that instead of asking, oh, instead of questioning as to why it didn't happen, or their, instead of validating their emotion, instead of questioning them back as to why they have to get frustrated, what if there is a curiosity raised in the husband? Okay, really? So give me those areas where I can support you, and also tell me what can we do to make sure that it is not overwhelming for you. What are those areas? I'm curious to know what happened. Maybe, in the office, that could be some reasons, or maybe it is a previous backlog. So if you can raise that curiosity rather than judgment, that's a beautiful way to resolve conflicts. That comes like specifically, during conversations where heated up, charged up conversations happen during finances also. If you can understand the reason behind that spending, or the reason behind, in this case, dinner not being planned, adding the logic blend to it, but addressing the emotion front of it is important. Okay. First, when the husband is able to see that, the wife is overwhelmed and she's able to communicate, the first thing is to address the overwhelmed feeling by lending the support. And later on, they can always come back to discuss on the reasoning behind it, like what made them in this situation. I hope this three steps, first is to identify emotional triggers from both the parties, is very important. Okay. The person who's going through that emotions also have to know what is their emotion state of mind, and then they should be able to clearly communicate, because in this case, the husband, it could be, the wife also, none of us have the telepathic ability, right? So it is our responsibility, individual responsibility, to communicate really well, and it is the other person's responsibility to receive it well with a tinge of curiosity rather than assumptions or judgment. Okay. That is the huge step that will solve any big problem. And stress management, individually, what's going to happen is, if you can identify your stress levels by noticing physical and emotional warning signs, that's the best thing. Okay. For example, when you can start having that trouble sleeping, those moments where you're just struggling to sleep, if you can take a pattern of it, trying to understand what irritation is been causing there. Maybe it could be on a diet, or it is the disturbed sleep time rituals, or it could be something going on in your mind which is bothering. Just take a pattern of it, note down the occurrence, and see the pattern of it. And if you can identify, once their signals are very clear, you just have to take a pause and assess those stress levels. That's the first step. So first is to identify what is happening. Is it a sleep undisturbed? Is it a disturbed sleep patterns, or it is the anxiety or fear that is causing you to have, weight loss or weight gain, or whatever could be the, irritable factors in it. Identify that. And then for those events, what are the symptoms that you're feeling? If you can have these two, then you are going to pause and assess to see what is the next step. And the next step is to take proactive steps. That is, to implement stress reduction strategies before it could reach the burnout stage. Because for you to reach the burnout stage, there's still time. But the idea is not to approach that. We are just going to reverse it. So you're going to take a scheduled 10-minute break every time you feel stressed. Okay. Either between meetings or between the, rough days. You're going to take a walk, or take a, there are a lot of stress reduction mechanism we have been discussing all these episodes. Please do have a connection, watch all those episodes to know what are those things. Simple things like taking a walk, nature walk, contemplating with nature instead of looking at your gadgets again, taking a fresh air, taking the sun on you, going for a swim, or take a hot water bath, um, you know, or listen to music and just sleep for some time. Taking a nap definitely refreshes, or doing some quick stretches, playing with your children, tickling and giggling, laughing out, watching something which is very funny. So these could be very, very small things for a 10, 20 minutes break. But then it is important to take a note of those signs and then have to maintain balance of it. If you can use those emotional awareness to maintain that work-life balance, overall well-being, then it is important, then it is highly important for you to take a sign that it doesn't get you emotionally drained while you're in an intense workday or emotionally stressful moments. If you can set your boundaries very clearly and engage in rejuvenating activities, that itself is a quick proactive steps that you're able to take maintaining balance. You're not going to do it as a very rigorous regime or something which is coming to your handily, and then you should be able to implement it very quickly for you to navigate the stressful moments. So 3 steps here. First, you're going to recognize that overwhelm happening, that early signs, and then pause. Then you're going to take proactive steps, 10-minute scheduling, and maintain that balance. Okay. How do you maintain that balance? In order to maintain that balance, you need to do these 2 steps, practice it daily. One is identifying, pause, and taking measures. Identifying, pause, and taking measures. And also see that whether that measures are helping you or not. If the same pattern occurs, then you might have to change the measure. But don't lose the activity of being aware, taking a pause. The measures can be changed, but then these are principles that you need to be aware, manage it really well. Okay. Then emotional insight for health and wellness. Again, recognize that impact, implement techniques, what is needed for well-being, and promote self-care. Self-care is very, very important, guys, especially ladies. You may think that you're just at home full time. Equally important to have that self-care. And for even working women, we always put ourselves as a priority, later priority, but it is important to switch that priorities whenever it's needed. And every day there should be some me time. It could be anything that you want to have an hobby or for your well-being or relaxation. I just spoke about few things that you can do for 10-15 minutes. That itself is a self-care. Okay, but self-care has to be in your routine. Now let's talk about directly about strategies which will help you left brain, right brain, and midbrain activities. Let's see what will help you enhance your emotional insight. First is identifying emotional triggers. 3 steps. This is your left brain activity. Okay, if you can do this, then you are able to activate your left brain for exercising emotional insight. Identifying emotional triggers. What you're going to do is observe. Okay, pay attention to your emotional responses in different situations. And then you're going to analyze the patterns. Why you're doing this? Is there a common theme? It will definitely indicate some value system in you. Maybe your emotional triggers could be something which is not alignment in your values. It could be a conflict of values between you and the other person. Maybe you are a person who needs honesty, who's very fair, but the other person value system could be different. So their approaches, behavior could also be different. You see, there could be a missing element, but you need to understand that emotion behind it, because you just cannot ask everybody to align with your values. But at least you should be able to understand the triggers in you so that you can align and constructively approach, right? And maybe you can even communicate to the other person if it is your spouse or if it is your family, it is bound to be, making sure that they know what is your value system, what are your needs and wants and likes and dislikes, and also your feelings. Similarly, you should be able to take those insights from others. This is where you're going to find common theme. And then you're accordingly developing the strategies. Understand? First is to observe, okay, your own emotional triggers. And the reason behind those triggers, what are those? You will find the common theme. Accordingly, you're going to develop the strategies. If it is personal side, like family, relationship, you will figure out what is needed. And if it is workplace, again, there is a structure to it. So you'll figure out according to the structure what can be established. But identifying emotional triggers is the point here. Then comes practicing empathy. That's your right brain. Once you're able to identify the triggers in you, you're going to practice empathy for yourself also. Yesterday's or day before yesterday episode, we saw this. Emotional intelligence itself is 2 components. One is for self and another one is for others. It is not always others. Similarly, for empathy, we only know standing in others' shoes. What about our shoes? So that is why self-empathy is also important. Self-compassion. So you're going to do 3 steps again here when you want to practice empathy. Actively listen. Before even you could understand what are their needs, you cannot be empathetic. So first thing is to listen. Okay? Pay full attention to words and actions and emotions and feelings, facial reactions, everything. Then you're going to take a perspective taking. You're going to try to see situation from other point of view. Why Which angle are they coming from? What could be the source behind it? What is their story behind it? And then you're going to offer support. It's the same thing, you're going to do it for yourself. You're going to pay full attention. That me time that you're taking, the self-care that you're taking, you're going to pay full attention for yourself. And take that perspective, what your inner voice is saying about anything. That is how you create intuition. Okay? Working on your guts. Gut is your individualistic opinion, right? You're going to pay attention to it. And then you're going to offer support also what is needed for yourself. If you think you need that nap time, you need that off time, detox time, you take that measure. And it's the same thing for others. Whatever is good for others, you're going to take action. That's how you're going to empathetically act. Then communicating emotions clearly. This is your right brain again. What you're doing is you're going to identify feelings, recognize and name your feelings, name your emotions accurately. If you can name your emotions accurately, you'll be able to do the same thing with others. And then express it very calmly. Okay? Share your feelings in a composed and non-confrontal manner. And then seek understanding. If your aim is to seek understand, then the conflicts will not occur. Touch your heart and say, how many times have you approached this way? If your intention is very clear that your aim is not confrontation, then your words and actions and approach will be in a way to not that side at all, not conflict creating at all. It will be seeking solutions, okay, seeking understanding. Then you will be able to express yourself in an open dialogue. Okay. Then using mindfulness, again, right brain, you're going to stay present in that current moment fully rather than worrying about the past or the future. Practice deep breathing and observe without judgment. Even when it is happening within you, you're just going to observe without judgment. Okay? Without passing any immediate criticism or contempt, any reaction. If you can do this, then you will be able to apply the same in others. Then seeking solutions and not blame itself is the right brain. You're going to focus on resolutions, collaborate, and learn from experiences. When you can direct your focus on collaboration, what's going to happen is you're also inviting the other person, making sure that you're not dwelling into anything which is not fruitful, right? So that's not our aim also. So seeking solutions is not really, it's actually a win-win. I must say it's not just a right brain, it is a midbrain. Because when you're involving other people, you need to have the blend of logic always. Because one is to make sure you're not getting swayed with the emotions of others, especially when during the conflict resolution, because you need to pull back the control. At the same time, you're not dismissing the emotions of others. You see how beautifully this is a midbrain activity. So first is you're going to focus on resolution only, bringing into win-win solutions, right? First of all, bringing to closure itself needs a lot of structuring, logical thing. At the same time, not dismissing it. And then you're also collaborating it. You're going to work together to find that mutual benefit outcomes. So how matured that brain should be in order to embrace everybody. Everybody has both the data also, logical and logic and emotional data. You need to combine all those logics and all those emotion brain towards a collaborative approach. And then collaboratively learning from experiences. You're going to inspire them, right? You're going to use conflict itself as an opportunity for growth and improved understanding for everybody involved there. So it's much more enhanced approach. It is not just a right brain. It is actually both the brains. Okay. Now it's a case study, right? A classic example is Nelson Mandela. We all know that he was a famous activist. And in fact, he was the first Black American who led as a president in South Africa, is the most, socially activated, racist activated country earlier. And Nelson Mandela was fighting against it. He had a huge adversaries, okay? But how did he manage to conduct a movement? How people just followed him. What kind of brain skills that you would have had to embrace that many people in this movement, right? He created such a big moment that, entire world opened their eyes, right? Even though it could be from a small country, he may be a small person by himself, right? He was not having a disposition, high, very aggressive disposition and all. He's a very noble, very humble person by looks itself. But then how this man seemed to have pulled through such a strongest moment, and how did he demonstrate his strong abilities? So it was intriguing for me to understand what kind of brain skills he would have used it. Okay. When I researched, I could understand that his left brain skills through his strategic thinking had enabled him to use emotional insight to understand the fears and motivation of different groups. He addressed that directly, right? He understood the fears and motivation of his opposing group. He used that insight to make sure that his people, his voice was heard, because he could use those fears behind why they're doing what they're doing. And then using his empathy and compassion, he led with forgiveness also, understanding toward both the supporters and opponents, right? That is where both the logic and magic will happen. Logic and emotion can create that magic. Okay. Then transformational leadership. So his leadership style is transformational, correct? Because he inspired billions of people at that point of time. I'm talking about, even the microphone, can be heard only to such a distance. Right now, just by doing a video, I could reach billions of people. But over that time, how much of inspiration they could have instilled in the hearts of people through their words. So it was impossible, right? So that is why they're all called transformational leadership. In the previous episode, I would have spoken about a lot of leaders like this. So inspired change through emotional insight, empathy, and commitment to unity. That's what made his movement successful. So with this, what we need to understand is Mandela's logic and emotional, processing, empathy, compassion had made that magic to happen, so that he, converted conflicts into collaboration. How beautiful it is. It should have been to watch this man, successfully go through his mission by using his brain skills, right? Now, at this point of time, if you have, in fact, before we could do this analysis, you need to understand how are we going to, achieve this. It is important to understand that it needs, first of all, resilience. In fact, even before we could talk about overall emotional intelligence, first of all, it needs emotional resilience also. Even Nelson Mandela could have given up at any point of time, right? Because it's a big moment. It's in the history of Black American. And he became the first president also because of his powerful inspiration and insight that he had, that he wanted to do something for his country, for his people. So it is very important to not give up also. That what kind of resilience had this man should have had, both physical, mental, and emotional. He had high self-awareness, right? Cultivating the deeper understanding of their own emotional patterns and triggers is also important, as well as reading the same in opponent groups. That's what he did, right? He learned about the fears and motivation of the opponent groups and addressing that. So adaptive coping also, that mechanism should also be there. Flexibility strategies to handle those various stressful situations is also important. He could have not just gone with one strategy. He could have definitely adapted, because a lot of people are following him. And he is responsible for a lot of things in the society. And he is holding a responsible leadership role also. And his positive outlook should be optimum at all times. Maintaining that optimistic perspective, even in challenging circumstances, is the super skill. That is why we are human being, right? Because optimism cannot be expected in animals. Faith, hope, all those value systems is specifically for us. And it is important to bring those up in the play whenever we are feeling down or we feel demotivated. That is where you will bounce back. So all these are components of emotional resilience. We have done exclusive topic on emotional resilience itself in the first few episodes we started off. I would recommend you to go through that. Now, overall, enhancing emotional intelligence is very, very important at this point of time. Having the self-awareness, recognizing and understanding your emotions and others, managing, regulating it also is important, and social awareness, understanding and empathizing with others' emotions, because that's what we want to expand, right? Once you know clearly what you're going through and you're able to manage, you're naturally a leader there, right? Long-term benefits of this, what will happen? It is going to improve a relationship not only within yourself and about yourself, within yourself, and also with other people, also extended family and community, right? Building stronger and empathetic connections with others is very, very important. career success, navigating workplace challenges or business challenges or any community challenges like this. Personal well-being can also be taken care. Okay. So if you have any questions as to understanding where do you stand in this point of time, I am going to give you EQ quiz bundles. I've been telling this in the last 40 episodes. So I think after this, I will be stopping the access for quiz bundles because there's 100 episodes to be created and it is becoming quite highly demanded. So I need to cater a lot of people. The only thing that you can do is if you want to also assess your emotional insight, especially during conflicts and stress, and also signs of burnout, right? If you want to know where do you stand, I'm going to give you a fun learning questionnaire. It'll be a 10 questionnaire format with 4 multiple options, one being the right answer. And of course, there are 2-3 tips also will be there additionally for you to make up your areas of improvement. Okay, all these are available as a one full bundle. Uh, at for a cost, but I'm going to give it you 100% free of cost. If you can engage and comment in the, as comments below, in the, as a video, not during the live, what inspired you in this episode? And is there any hacks that you are using during, if you are already good with emotional insights, how has it helped you? Anything that you want to engage with us, one or two few liners over there, or simply just take 2-3 insights what you gain from this episode. As long as I see you engaging, that really means that you're sincere about learning and growing. I will give it you 100% free of cost to help you access these EQ quiz bundles, the entire episodes. Okay. That being said, I'm also giving an open invitation for any women who want to fast track their, EQ journey. You can come to my masterclass where I'll show you 3 secrets to approach your brain skills and also tell you how to figure out your own unique brain styles. So that itself is a good tool, right? You will have concrete data as to what is your brain style. There are 8 combination in out of which one is yours and how much are you using your left brain, right brain, and midbrain. With that, we will also fix your goals, your action plans, and then you will be able to read other people's brain styles, communication, and all that. So that's a good start for you, and it'll be a very interactive masterclass, only open for women. For now, register yourself in the link given in the description. Whenever it's going to happen, you will get notified. With that, and there are also free resources open for anybody to access it. It is right now, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do that so that whenever I come online, you will be notified. There are also other videos coming up. There's also another series I'll be opening up on money quotient. So just hang on. At the same time, there are free resources available on my Spotify as a podcast. So please do subscribe. And then there is a Substack platform where I'm bringing all articles about emotional intelligence. So everything is open out there for you to make use of it. The only thing is, how much can you make use of it? How much you want to learn and grow is up to you. And making use of these strategies, you can activate your left brain, right brain, midbrain, no matter what status are you in right now, whether it is on assessing your emotional insight or it could be on resilience or any talent you want to pick up. You can go dive deep into it because I'm giving you not only in this episode, I'm also giving you a questionnaire which will have through 2-3 tips for each and every section. So imagine with that many insights, all it is needed is it is up to you to make action. Okay, take action. How much you are able to take proactive steps is what is going to determine your learning capacity, because it's just not awareness which is going to help you. It is the application. Remember that an emotional insight is not just to, keep reading emotions. It is also taking those emotional insights to be able to derive your desired outcomes out of it, whether to resolve conflicts or managing stress or bettering your relationship. Okay. With this being said, I'll see you tomorrow with another episode. Until then, stay tuned, stay acute, make use of these insights, and I would like you to engage in the comments with your insights that you have got from Emotional Insight Today episode. I'll see you tomorrow.